Hello, everybody, and welcome to Capsule Cast Teams. As always, I'm your host, DoorGuard, with our co host today, Donut.
Hello, everyone.
And as you can tell by the title, we have Rugrats, and representing Rugrats, we have their special coach, Toshiro.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
So many of you may know Toshiro is league staff and coach, so lots of experience coming in, and after last season, a pretty experienced team.
Mm, mm.
Mhm.
Okay, I appreciate the thought.
Well, without further ado, let's get going on to what is Rugrats. So, Toshiro, what does it make it to be a Rugrats character? Like, what is the theme of Rugrats?
So, Rugrats, you have to be, I believe it's under four, or is under 12 years old, I believe, and you have to be, of course, short. So, like your Kid Trunks, Goten, anyone like that. So,
Yeah, and what brought you to the team of Rugrats? Because obviously you've been in the league for a while now. So,
honestly, because back when DBZ League was ran by Squee and the other staff, I kind of joined in, and I just like. So Goten is one of my favorite characters in DBZ. Even though he doesn't get that much time to shine for the most part, and then Gotenks as well. I just like fusion, and at the time Gotenks was the only fusion, so I
Gotcha.
decided to join them and stuck with them for a while, and all. And then I decided to come back to Rugrats when we started up the league again. So
did you have a question, Donut?
No, I think that answered no the initial questions at least. So I didn't want into nitty-gritty other characters.
For sure. I mean, I was going to ask, like, as you said, you've been with the league for a while and you've moved around. I know at least previously you were a part of Androids. Were there any other teams that, or I guess what initially brought you in to DBZ League?
So with DBZ League, I knew it was somewhat of a thing. I didn't really get more involved in it until um, there was a sister league called Naruto League, and I was more involved with that. And I kind of got more involved, like in or got to know Squee a bit more, and found out that he did DBZ League as well. And I joined when I joined in. I think it was season 5, and I think I decided to try to join. It was Gohan's, I think, at first,
Hmm.
and I didn't really go back on the website for a bit. And then when I was like, all right, let me actually try to see what's going on, and let me actually choose the proper team that I will probably like more so. I decided that's when I went to Rugrats, and I still try to be a little bit more involved. Back then, it was a little bit harder because we were on the forums and all,
Mhm.
compared to now where we're on Discord and you can actually talk to people in real time. So, yeah, that's kind of what brought me on, and I've enjoyed at least watching the league. I didn't really become active in terms of building and everything until I probably joined Androids
Mhm.
and all. So, and that was in season 7. So, like for the first 2 seasons, I was a part of the league. I was mainly just watching it instead of actually participating.
Gotcha.
So,
I think that's how a lot of people initially go, as they start as watching and watch it for seasons on end, and then they hit that point where they progress into getting more in depth. And you've moved your way all the way up into coaching status, so very hands-on now.
mhm. Basically, what is it? So, like, actually, funny enough, me and Lloyd, we started, when my supporter and all that, also on Rugrats, we both started supporting the team around the same time. So we known each other for a good bit. And when the league started up, he was like, Tosh, you should try to get the old team back together. You need to join Rugrats again. And I was like, but I'm on Androids, and he ended up convincing me. So went
Well,
back home.
seems to have worked out in the end, and you have a fair amount of other supporters, though not quite
Yep.
as hyperactive as some supporters in the league, but active nonetheless. Always good to have them there.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially with last season. So we've had 3 additional supporters, of course, outside of me and Lloyd. And we had DTC, Universal, I believe his name was, um, Sondi, and barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce is more so of a recent addition. He came in, I believe, towards the end, like in the bowl or completely like during the off season. Sondi joined us, I believe, in the middle of the league, probably more towards the beginning, maybe like week 4 or 5. Um, and as they were going on, of course, I try to be open. I know sometimes I can be very stubborn because I don't like to say if it doesn't break and everything, don't try to fix it. Oh, and I also had Zelo on the team too.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, it was Sondi and Lloyd. Lloyd knows like majority of the Pataras and all. Sondi was just like kind of filling out the waters. He was still learning stuff, so he will be asking a lot of questions. I try to help out as much as I can, and I try encouraging him to give more builds and all, and which he did. Um, and in the end, some of those builds that they came up with, we're still using now because they actually got it to work. So,
Nice.
so
Yeah.
yeah, nah, I'm very appreciative, like with my what is it, with my supporters and all, because honestly, last season was still kind of tough, and I don't feel I could have really gotten. I basically got to a point to where it was like kind of a roadblock, to where it was like I don't know what to do with certain characters
Sure.
and all. So someone please like just spitball some ideas and we'll see how it works out. So um and yeah.
Yeah, there's always that. Sometimes you just need that outsider's view, somebody looking at it through a different lens per se, can get the thought process started over again. Get some crazy stuff going on.
Hmm.
Well, with that, shall we get on to, and you already talked about it for a second before, but probably one of the more unique things about the team of Rugrats, and it is the Fusion Confusion. It's very unique. Really, only Rugrats have options to this in the league. Basically, as said before, they can make Gotenks because Goten and Kid Trunks confuse, becoming one character with all the health combined of the both and all the stats. However, because of that, they have to have the same build, so the same Pataras outside of the blue Patara because there's no duplicates of that. And uh, even then, it's like super high risk, high reward because you
Oh
don't
yeah.
know what form it'll go into. We've seen Kid Trunks will transform when he's near dead, where Goten might do it on the second he hits the field. A huge amount of variabilities, and there's more than just Gotenks. Gotenks comes in base, Super Saiyan, and Super Saiyan 3. So Toshiro, tell us about your plight with this man. He's been good, been bad.
So last season, well, looking at the old league, I'm pretty sure he did once when I joined Androids and everything. I didn't really pay much attention to Rugrats and everything. Um, I'm pretty sure they got him like working decently and all, but they gave him all the scaling Pataras, which definitely works. But I'm not sure how well it went. But with last season specifically, since we worked on him, um, that was one of the first things we really touched on in testing. So for like one of the first things that we did, we were trying to see who would like to fuse more so. And so like how you mentioned earlier, Goten loves to fuse like completely. He can lose anywhere from half a bar to almost 2 bars, and he will go ahead and fuse. Trunks, on the other hand, for whatever reason, sometimes we want him to fuse, but he will rather choose to go Super Saiyan than a fuse, and then he'll choose fusion after the fact. Um, so with last season, we chose to give Kid Trunks a Broly's ring. Well, yeah, we chose to do that, and one of the reasons that, well, from my point of view on doing that was since Kid Trunks don't like to fuse, just allow him to do all the damage that he can. Hopefully, when he's comes out on the field before Goten, and then do his damage. Hopefully, tag, and then Goten will come in and fuse later on. That wasn't the case. And come later on to find out, which I didn't pay attention to, which is so bad on my part. Um, I forgot that the Broly's ring goes on the build as well when they fuse. So whatever form that we went into last season, he stayed in it.
Yeah.
And the overall performance for Gotenks, it did well. I believe during the main season, we only had him out towards the later half of the season. And it was only 4 times, not including the playoffs. Um, and each time that he came out, he did 90K plus, except for versus Namek because Kid Trunks decided to come out first, which was great on our part. Did a whole bunch of damage, almost took them out, and then tagged Goten. Goten then fused, and I think Gotenks only had 38K. And then he tagged in, and of course Cell Jr. later on came in and finished it up. But that was the only time that he did under 40K because that was all that was left. And then of course, when you look at playoffs, we use it a handful of times. We use it against Bujins, and then we use it against Muscle. And against Bujins, it was good. Muscle, I still regret it. Had a vote, and it was a tied vote. And at first, someone voted to go for Gotenk, so that's what we went with. And he only did around 50K. So like, if he was like a base character and everything, 50K and more is not bad at all. But with the high risk, high reward kind of play that we have there, we are looking for him to do 90K plus
Remember,
on
this is
average.
2 characters for those watching. So the team, instead of having 4 fighting, technically has 3. So the Gotenks
Mhm.
has to do the amount of 2 characters, which, since every character has 40k health, would mean 80k minimum just to go even on what's
Yep.
expected. So that's why the 50k is great for singular, but horrible for a combination.
Yeah, and so like if you look at the stats for like last season, Goten and Trunks, they were constantly in the top 10 for the majority of the season. And they would usually hit around 50 to 60K each. So me most of the time when we were like, oh, do we want to use Gotenks? Me and Lloyd kind of knowing how Gotenks was, and even in the old league, and kind of with testing, was kind of hesitant on doing so because of it. And then also, for whatever reason, in the off season, base Gotenks, was not the best. Super Saiyan was the best form, and then Super Saiyan 3 was like second.
Mm.
Um, but later on, well, I'll say now for the preseason, base tanks is proving to um, say screw you, and I'm the best form. So yeah, but it's definitely it's fun to see him fight and everything, especially when he can transform. He does have his downsides and all. He has great B2s. Base form has like false courage, after image, and all. The only thing with Super Saiyan, his Super Saiyan form, he has, and I know Dora can kind of relate to this now. He has Super Ghost Kamikaze attack, which for whatever reason, and I did find this out, Dora, for it's true for us too. It does angle down for Gotenks as well, and all, so it will hit the ground if he's right there. And of course, it has the whole um, what is it? Frame. Something with the frames where they don't hit immediately like every ultimate. So it's kind of a downside to it. Well, more of a downside than being great. So overall, yeah, like I said, I can keep on going on, but Gotenks, I really, like I said, I enjoy him and everything. We just gotta really be careful on how we use him, and also prepare for, okay, if he goes down and he doesn't do much, do we have the right people on the field to actually pick up his slack? So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to go too much more into Gotenks. He's technically an optional character for the team more so than the normal cast. But I
mhm.
think that pretty well describes kind of the unique, thing that Rugrats has option to in terms of league
Oh yeah,
play, because that is
it
something they can do at any point.
Mhm.
and it does give us an advantage with that because in terms of planning, people had to plan for our regular builds, our regular characters, and also Gotenks if we would decide to use him.
Exactly.
So I don't know how that goes, like in their state of mind, like when they're trying to plan around that or not. Um, but I would like to think that it gives us a little bit of advantage. So
To bounce off that, since I would be the one planning for it, yeah, it definitely is a factor you have to account for. Right? It's something that's always in the back of your mind. Saying his damage output can be that monster, as you know, he can be. But if he doesn't transform, you still have those two characters respectively for Goten and Kid Trunks. They'll still do the 50k minimum you'd imagine week in week out. So it's just a lot to account for, and um, the unpredictability of what stage he'll transform into also takes into effect, right? Since each one has their own moveset that you have to account for.
mhm.
Well,
So
with
yeah.
that, would you guys like to get going on to the main cast, the characters you'll see performing the actions per se?
Mr. MVP over
Yeah.
there.
Well, let's get us started with kind of what people fear as the strongest member is Kid Trunks. Been a very solid character for many seasons. You know, strong B2s. He's a great ult, especially in base form. He's got very fast melee, and of course he's one half of the Gotenks fusion. Um, the cons being that when he goes for that, he has to share a build with Goten, so they may have to fight over Petars with the rest of the team, with each other, all this and that. And of course, while his Super Saiyan form seems stronger, funny enough, it actually loses out on some of the tools that makes Kid Trunks seem so strong. Base Kid Trunks just seeming to have a lot better accuracy with his abilities, especially with his ult. So, you know, strange scenario, but one of those characters that does better in base over Super Saiyan. So, Toshiro, would you call Kid Trunks? You know, I know there's other strong members on the team, but Kid Trunks is seen as kind of the captain per se. How would you describe your kind of mini typhoon here?
He is someone that we can always fall back on for the most part. Um, he's very adaptive in terms of different builds that we give him and all. If we need him to work on something else, he just seems to work on them. Um, but he mainly sticks on like a key build to kind of maximize like on his spam for one, and a lot also like how you were mentioning earlier with his fast melee, he also likes to combo a lot.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of piggybacking off of the reason why we like last season we chose base Kid Trunks over Super Saiyan was of course due to his kit. So at least from my perspective, I don't particularly care for. So in Super Saiyan, he has full power energy on volley. He has high speed rush. His ultimate is big tree cannon, and then his B1s, which are his like different abilities, are super unyielding spirit and I believe explosive wave. While that sounds great and everything, super unyielding spirit is really good because I believe he still has 6 blast stocks. I believe so. In order to at least do it twice, in
Mhm.
order to get back up to max power and spam his ultimate that way. Um, but it gives him a key negative when he gets out of it, and if he doesn't use it, and we don't have him on a key build, then it's gonna be kind of hard for him to build that back up. With the full power energy volley, it leaves him if he misses it all, it leaves him in a certain pose where he can't act or anything, and your opponent can just react to it in kind of way. Compared to his base one where he has finish sign after image, full power energy wave, high speed rush, and finish buster. Um, just overall, while he doesn't have the max power B1 and everything, finish sign he can just stack up and do more damage that way after image for dodging and everything. Um, but he just didn't like overall like in testing. He just looks like he prefers to do a lot more better. He has a lot more aggression in base form. Now allowing him into transform into Super Saiyan is fine because he doesn't do that until he's lower health, and then from there he does decent and everything. Um, but we just prefer him in his base form overall. Both forms have their quirks and their things that they're good at and everything. But just in terms of adaptability, base Kid Trunks is kind of where it's at. So
Yeah, I mean, he's always going to be seen as kind of a threat and a diverse threat because you say he's on key right now to help him out, but that's partially because the rest of the team doesn't fully need the key and he doesn't really need certain Pataras. He kind of just functions. So a
mhm.
very scary character overall and a harder one to deal with per se by many teams, especially with the Gotenks ability. And when he has Broly's Ring off, even though Super Saiyan, as described, maybe isn't the best form, it still can come out and do some good stuff.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
certainly a
something I
terror to be
did.
sure.
Oh, sorry. Something I did want to bring up is funny enough. I think it was week one of the Capsule cast, and I think Oasis was on the cast with you and Donut.
Mhm.
Um, and you guys were discussing my match versus Muscle. One thing that I never really thought about, and that Oasis kind of brought up, is that Kid Trunks can kind of function similar to an android in a sense, to where his base form, his key automatically charges up to 3 bars, which is real good, especially when he's trying to do melee. Um, and with that, like kind of in mind, with the key +2, it really helps out with that. And I also kind of changed his build to where he's the one that runs our Eternal Life. So originally we were giving him Dendays, but now Eternal Life really, because he doesn't need that much to really help him out to like stay on par and everything. But with like Eternal Life, and then of course with how his key is set up, it keeps him longer in a fight like that. So that's just another advantage that I see with it.
Yeah, for sure. Donut, do you have any questions on the child Trunks here?
Questions? Not exactly questions. I just a lot of praise for the lad over here. He is easily one of the top 10, top 5, arguably, fighters for 1v1s, right? If you want to have a closer for any match, you want to take one, him or SL would be one of your two, right? For to clutch it
Mhm.
out. He just consistently is able to find ways, find avenues to get an advantage, whether it be through his, you know, very, very good B2s, right? Good B2. I think High Speed Rush is one of them. Then he has the the Energy Wave on the other one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are just very solid overall. So, and also the melee deployment, very good, very solid. So there's no downside to him, right? And we have a character that has no downside. You can do a lot with him.
Hmm.
In regards to versatility, right? You make him a B2 build, you make him a melee to do a hybrid, right? All-rounder type thing. So you have avenues to make him more malleable into the comp position for the lineup. That comes very much into fruition for those 5v5 playoff matches. You can adapt to your opponent as needed and not pigeonholed into a certain build. I think that's a lot of the value you get from Kid Trunks and what makes him such a threat.
Oh yeah.
Well, with that, shall we get on to the next member? As I think we've talked about Kid Trunks, he's probably down to go back to his own training right now.
Do we have to talk this next one? Do we have to
The
talk about it?
demon
All right, so we're going on
giving you
to the
PTSD.
third member of the team.
There you go. I love it. Thank you for that.
So, Aurelie, or better known in the league as the Demon Child, is a very powerful member of the league in general, having very strong B2s, very strong melee, and just having all the benefits of being an android with passive charge, immunities to rush break, and all that. There are, of course, some cons. She just straight up has no rush blast, which is a pro in one sense, but a major con in another because she has a harder time disrupting enemies from doing B1s and stuff. High damaging ult as always, but it being a rush ult has its, lackluster. And she's very polarizing because if she doesn't do well, kind of leaves the team in a hole because she does so well that it's kind of planned around her doing well to a degree from time to time. So it's weird how that can function, but yeah, she is a terror to be sure. Um, I mean, she's also been a very high build diversity character. It was hard to pick between Aurelie and Kid Trunks up front, but I felt like Kid Trunks had maybe a little bit more going for him, where Aurelie's already known just to be the boss, per se. So Toshiro, on your this is the last season you're gonna have Aurelie before she gets nerfed and moved to androids. What do you have to work with her?
So last season, like before we started up the league, I had Rugrats. We had a choice between either Aurelie, keeping Aurelie, or picking up Aurelie, and I think it was dropping GT Goku in order to, of course, put him on GT, or keep GT Goku. And I think Aurelie was going to go to cinema, or I don't know, just be tossed up somewhere. I have no idea. Um, Obviously, I chose to. I try to urge my team to really just choose Aurelie and everything, because being on androids, Aurelie, for whatever reason, just leaves a mark on the androids to where they just stop working.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that she's done well in a league just in general and how high damaging she can be. Um, like Dor said, very great B2s. She only has one B1, um, which you barely see that because I think it's three costs.
I
And then
think
of
so.
course being an android. I forgot what it's called. I think it's like Nacha or
Yeah,
whatever, and I think it. Hmm?
it's Ninja, yeah, because I think it's
Okay.
cited as um is the other one, right?
Yeah, the other one I think is excited, and that one gives her health, and I think that one was taken out, like in the old league, because yeah, healing B1s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but so in the first half of the season, last season, she was on a super plus build. Um, because funny enough, one of the old coach for, or I don't know if Snuffy was coach or if she was just like a regular supporter for Valkyries. She used to run Aurelie and all, so I asked her for a build that they used to use on her, which was super plus two. And I was warned that, as you see on the cons, she can either do great or she can do horrible. Um, and for the longest time, she she has her she had her upsides and everything. I think one issue is that while she has like her ping, which is one of her B2s, which is just like what considered like just a rush B2 or or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, that one is good, but it doesn't go through beams like how Nova Strike does for a full power freeze and all. So she can still get hit out of it. Um, as proven many times over and over again, I guess unless you're Pilo. Um, her woohoos, her rock throws, just don't hit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, her grab it has a weird wind up. So sometimes she can go past if she's not angled right, she can always go past the our opponent. Overall, she has like very great things going for her because this is um this is one of the characters where I didn't know I had to build for her and everything. We were trying to work some things out and trying to get her to work a bit better. And I think this was around the time that Zelo ended up joining in on a team. And I threw like a few builds on Rayleigh, attack plus two, defense, and all that stuff. See what stuck to the wall, but I never revisited those builds. And so Zelo, he was like, "What if you're not using attack plus two on anyone? Have you tried like testing it out at all?" And I was like, we went through our whole set of tests and everything that we did in the off season, and we found maybe about 5 to 6 tests where I gave her attack plus two and all. And we just went ahead, we put our brains together to actually go ahead and put in a new build for her, which is her current build, which is like attack plus two, uh, all the melee Pataros basically. And for whatever reason, Aurelie already has a plus to her defense, so she has a plus point 5, I believe.
Oh,
So, um, so really, the attack plus two, defense minus one is really just attack plus two, defense minus point 5. And then we just give her latent energy to kind of offset that even more. Um, and then we give her like savior because in max power mode, and this really helps out with her rush ultimate when she's in melee range. Um, she has basically an ultimate body effect where she has power body where she can't get flinched out after so many hits, and then the light body effect. It's not like how where you see regular light body where um, they just don't flinch, but they still take the damage. No, the rush blast actually bounced off of her. It's the same thing with Kid Trunks when he's in max power mode with that light body effect. But for her, yeah, it bounces off and everything like that. And I've seen it plenty of times. I think that's more so with Kid Trunks, where but it's possible for Aurelia is that if you going up against a Vegeta and everything, they just firing off rush blasts and they have light body, they can end up doing more damage to you. I mean, or to them, to themselves, and everything because of that. But yeah, ever since we put her on that melee build, she still has her moments where she doesn't do exactly what we want, but at least she's been doing like a consistent 40k and all. Lately we've been trying to see what else we can kind of put her on, um, while keeping her main build like strictly for her because I don't think we have anyone else that can really pick up that build that she has. Um, but yeah, no, she's been a great asset and a great fighter for us. Got us out of many issues and almost turned around many fights last season for us. So
Yeah.
She's certainly had lots of upside, been a very strong character, scary character in the league. And that's basically been how it has been since day one. So nothing too crazy there per se. Is there anything you want to add on, Donut, or
To add on, not necessarily in the sense of new information, just a lot of reiterations talking about how such a strong character, right? There's no real big glaring weakness to her kit as a whole. Obviously, you have the 1v1, but still, the V1 she does have is the was it the key that she gets, or was it match power? One of the two.
oh yeah. Hmm.
Um, so it's still really good, right? You're gonna take that any day of the week. So on top of the pain, which is arguably one of the best B2s in the game, since it is so hard to dodge or block, um, and just it's the damage she does with her attack build, right? When you found that and debuted it in one of the matches, everyone was like, "What the hell is this? This is just this not fair." It's like, what is this? It's a cheat code, and it felt very akin to 16, right? Where it's very similar to the base defense they get, right?
Oh yeah.
That help out with it, right?
Hmm.
So to have that natural defense to help out and mitigate the damage of the defense -1 from the Lupatar, on top of the attack +2, you have just a perfect combination there. It fit a hole in your lineup that you didn't really have with the other characters. That's you have like Kid Trunks who talked about with the good melee combos and all, but no one doing the same amount of damage as we've seen Rayleigh do with it. So definitely help fit the team comp and very just very like well-rounded now, right? In regards to each one has their role, and plus it
Hmm.
doesn't it doesn't hurt that she does well in Cell and any Android. So
So I'm
that
not complaining about that at
yeah,
all.
I'm complaining a lot about that. So if you can just pitch over to my side, that'd be helpful. Thank you very much. Greatly
I
appreciate it.
think I want to say when we first did it, I wasn't like expecting much because it was just like, yeah, she did all right,
Mhm.
but like it's a new build, and I'm like I said, I'm kind of like iffy on changing things, and I guess this is just my mindset from like Naruto League where things were very finicky. If you change like maybe one small detail and all, so that I guess that mindset kind of carried over into DBZ League, and my team kind of had to kind of like make me take a step back and everything and relook at it, and it's just like a maybe a few Protara changes, but we're not changing like too much.
Mhm.
So, um, but yeah, no, it works out and everything, and yeah, I'm very satisfied with it.
As you should be.
So,
well, shall we get on to the third member in the second half of Gotenks here?
Mm, Let's
I've
mhm.
do it.
heard this might be a favorite of someone in here.
Right.
Goten, who, as many know, is just fake Goku, no drip. He's been a pretty
Listen,
decent
just
character.
put some respect on his name. Come on,
He's
he
got
did
some.
stuff.
He's got some alright B2s. Bros Kamehameha and Super Saiyan, which is just incredibly powerful. And of
Very good.
course, continuing with the very fast melee, though. He has his issues. He basically has nearly the same moveset in base and Super Saiyan, so there's kind of not really a reason to use base outside of I think, the ult, and that's it. And at this point, you better
Yeah.
off with risking the ability to have Bros Kamehameha. However, he can't have Savior in Super Saiyan due to Bros being a cutscene ult doing way too much damage. So, it's a trade-off. It's just one Patara though. He has struggled a little bit with inconsistency, though I think this season he's looking to be one of the more consistent variants that we've seen in a long time. And of course, the same issue as with Trunks is if he's going to fuse, then he has to have the exact same build minus the blue Patara. So it can be hard to try to build for two characters with the exact same build, basically, which has caused some issues and why Gotenks is harder to design. But overall, Goten's been a pretty solid character for the team. You just need some of those characters in the middle that can pop off, but also just do their job every time. And he's been one that has been able to hold that. But whereas the last two characters, it seemed like you could almost throw any Pataras on them and they'll do well. Goten has required. He's the first in the line here of kind of requiring specific Pataras per se. So Toshiro, I think you made a comment earlier about this being one of your favorite characters. Want to go into some in depth on your boy Goten?
So with Goten, I would say early on, kind of basically following the trend here. Early on in the season, um, I believe we had like maybe like a couple builds that we knew that could possibly work, and I think it was like super +1, defense +1, and then like attack +1. And then we had like different like yellow stars going along with it. As we went on in the season, we saw that the other two, the defense and the super, just wasn't cutting it, at least on the AI that he was using currently, or at the time. So it kind of put a little bit of doubt. So like for the like maybe the first 4 or 5 weeks of the actual main season, um, we just kind of like we worked around with the attack +1 and we tried making it work a bit more and trying out different Pataras to just try to see what stuck for the most part. Eventually, we were able to get something to work for him. And funny enough, with the kind of going back to like kind of what Go Tanks is that a lot of times when we use Go Tanks and all, is because of Goten's build. So like we work around Goten's build for the most part. I don't if we don't have to, and try not to, I try not to change Goten's build too much, and then we just like make Trunks match Goten because of the adaptability. Um, so yeah, going back to Goten, he has decent melee and all. He has good B2, especially in Super Saiyan. He's actually their kits are kind of inversed, kind like between Kid Trunks and Goten. So in base form, Goten he has, he only has one B1 now. He has, I believe it was after image or Wild Sense still, but he used to have sleep for whatever reason. I don't know what they were thinking when they gave him sleep, but that's taken off. But his B2s are full power energy volley, and then he has assault, which is a non-tracking B2, rush B2, and then he has super Kamehameha, which is of course a beam, but it's kind of a small one for compared to all like maybe Cell Juniors or like Goku's and all this stuff. So we tried looking at base Goten, excuse me, only to try to see if we can get around the savior band and everything and allow him to transform into Super Saiyan, but just could never get it to work out consistently. Um, so it is what it is. So we just stuck with Goten, Super Saiyan Goten. So this season especially, we were able to find a new AI for him completely. His build is relatively the same, Um, and while compared to the old AI, I feel like the old AI he tend to like to use his ultimate maybe a bit more and all. This new AI is very good in the melee department. Um, likes to spam his B like combo his B2s majority of the time. I still hate assault because it's not tracking and I hate it sometimes. um, but yeah, no, he has a great kit, false courage and wild sense, and Super Saiyan. So it's not bad at all. He's pretty good, and he worked out on his old AI. He got the job done last season. It just kind of sucks that when we went into the off season for this year, um, it just seemed like the AI just broke or whatever. Something about it just stopped working, and I'm just glad that now now we're about to get back into the preseason, and he's doing extremely well for himself, and especially with Gotenks, because something that you gotta and I didn't mention this with when we were talking about Gotenks earlier, but when they fuse together, whoever initiates the fusions, that's who AI is going to take over.
Oh,
So, so when Goten initiates the fusion, I'm pretty sure that Gotenks is going to have Majin Buu AI, and when Trunks fuses, it's going to be Chaozu AI. So that's something else we had to take into account because with both of them, it's just like, all right, we need to make sure that Gotenks, if we want to use Gotenks at all, we got to make sure that both of these AIs are good individually and they work for Gotenks. And funny enough, he works on both AIs
how about that?
and pretty well with that. So at least I'm pretty sure that's what I was told, and that's what it seems like is kind of the trend right now based off of like their behavior.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, no, Goten is fairly good, especially now. Has been one of my favorite characters. I don't know why, but something about Goten, I just like Goten is just one of my favorite, like kid wise and everything like that. Between like him and maybe Kid Trunks and like Pan or whatever. So yeah, like not much to say for the most part. Like he's done well. He's continuing to do well right now. So yeah.
Well, I feel like we've gone into some good depth on Goten then. Got a couple air quote problem children coming up. You
Mm,
guys, is there
my
anything?
disappointment.
Well, should we get on to the
Not that bad.
first one then?
Let's do
Yeah,
it.
These
sure.
are the two
Who we have?
babies of the team. 12 years old mattered a lot more for the first three, and not so much for these two. Cell Jr., uh, birthday and death date within 1 hour. Very young member of the team, not a lot of time to learn. Got some good pros and cons though. He's got some pretty decent melee. He's got a nice quick fire super Kamehameha ult. Being the son of Cell certainly helps. He seems to have picked up a lot from there. However, he basically has found himself being mostly focused around spam to get his job done. While his melee does seem good, he never seems to commit to it. He's only a babby, and he seems to love Innocent Rush more than anything else that his kit can possibly do, which is
Yeah.
leads to lots of issues because Rush B2s can put you in a lot of trouble. So,
Hmm.
Toshiro, Cell Jr., Babby.
Yeah, this was my disappointment for the majority of the season, and I think I actually made Donut and Anthony sad, um, quite a bit. Maybe like I don't know. You can answer that on your own, though. But Cell Junior, I basically we took his build from like the last season of DBZ League, the last one that Rugrats did, I think in season 9, and it was on Broly AI. We tried it out a few times. It looked all right. Put him on an attack build. I think he was the one that was giving our attack +2 at the time. And during testing, and I don't know if you were around like at the very beginning of the off season or whatever, but I just remember like throughout the whole off season, I was mainly testing against Fujins, and Cell Jr. was actually looking at least decent, like to be like a 30 to 35K character. And I was like, all right, bet. Like, I'm good with this.
Hmm.
Soon as the main season comes by, you want me to do 30K? Nah, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm going to do like 10K or less.
Love it.
Like this man couldn't do anything for the most part, which kind of like disappointed me. So I think after like maybe me being stubborn as I am at times, trying to build a few times, maybe like changing a few things up here and there. Because I'm like at first I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's just like the opponent and everything like that, and then I
Yeah.
swap to okay, maybe it's the build and all. Um, and Zelo and Sondi both helped me out here. Um, and before Sondi became involved in terms of trying to help with Cell Junior at that point, me and basically I think it was like maybe week 5 or week 6. Me and Zila, we made a few builds and everything. We're like, all right, you're going to use your build this week. I'm going to use my build this week. And we kept on cycling it over, and we kept on asking the team, are you fine with these builds? Are these any changes that you feel like we need to make? And all.
Mhm.
And I think we got like, it was like one build, because the other thing that which kind of sucks is that since we don't have testing in the main season, um, it was like, okay, well, when we changed the AI and everything during the actual main season, like in these actual fights, it was like, well, you don't really know whether or not, like, if it was the opponent or the build that
Mhm.
caused it to lose or do well. Um, so there was no room for consistency testing at all. Eventually, we got to a point. I think it was the LVPs, and I was like, well, I could like throw in a regular build in here, but hey, who wants to? I just put in my chat. I was like, hey, who wants to try to like build and everything, like get a little bit more experience? Because at the time, like Sondi, he was comfortable like with around everyone, but of course, like I said, like him and like I think maybe Lloyd were like still like learning the Pataras and everything, and still trying to learn how to different things, but sometimes they didn't always interject because they felt like since they were inexperienced, they couldn't really help out and all. And it was just like, well, just shoot your ideas out there. Like we'll like discuss it. That's like one of my main mottos, but not one of my main things that I always tell people is just like, just put your idea in here. The worst thing people can say is no, but majority of the time it's not going to even be a no. It's going to be, well, give your reasoning behind it. Like, what are you trying to see out of this build? And all, and then we can maybe try to see what we can do to fix it up, if it needs to be fixed up at all, like to kind of achieve more so what you're trying to envision. Um, so Sony ended up coming up with, funny enough, I think it's the build that we use now, for him. And Sony looked at the AI descriptions, picked out a certain AI, and we tried it out. And we looked at LVPs, even though it was a joke for
Mhm.
most of everyone. It was like a joke um, event and all.
Sure.
It was like, okay, we're gonna kind of use it for testing to some extent and such.
Mhm.
So, and we liked how it looked and it behavior wise, but we didn't completely use it for the remainder of the season because I believe we actually had there was another build that we had because it was a similar concept. So like Sony chose to choose key plus two, super minus one, and all. And I think the build that me and Zelo ended up coming up with at one point was a key plus one build, but it was on a completely different AI. And that one seemed to be doing decent enough at the time. So we kind of stuck with that one. And we put Sony had some collaboration in terms of changing some of the Pataras on the one that we are currently using in the main season. But I was like, all right, well, let's take the build that you did, and we're gonna put it to the side in terms of it's gonna be like one of the first things that we're gonna be testing out in the off season and such. Because I didn't really, it was like, well, that's a whole different AI, and we haven't even touched the AI, so we don't even know how it's gonna work out. Um, so he was fine with that. But now that AI, that build, is kind of what we did in this. Like Dora said, it's mainly span focused. Um, because the man needs help with his key and all. He doesn't actually go with melee for the most part. It's a good thing that even though he's a considered a baby or a child or whatever, he doesn't have a defense minus. Um, it's just his like it's certain things like his melee is really weak. It feels like at times. Um, Another con that he has is that I know everyone struggles with power body, but it feels like for us on Rugrats,
Mhm.
it's like a whole nother level because the other thing is that you got to factor in is that our reach is much smaller than everyone else's too. And Cell Jr. like I just remember him going against I think it was Broly, and Broly went max power a few times and Super Saiyan, and then I think he decided to go legendary, and that was horrible because the man could not. He would do everything right to set him up and like solar flare, and then he was sitting there like try to get in a combo like hitting the man. Broly's unfazed, or whoever he's going against that has a freaking power body completely unfazed and flies up or flies away, and I'm just like, Cell Jr., I see your attempt there. Like, I'm sorry this is happening to you because it's like you don't know what else to do. Like at that point, it's just like, well, we'll see. But now, and I used to call him, he was my disappointment. And then eventually, I followed the trend that androids ended up doing with I think it was 17,
Yep.
where he was no longer Cell Junior, he was Redacted Junior.
Mhm.
I didn't even want to speak his name because that's how annoying and bad he was. And he kind of showed up in playoffs to some extent. I know against I know he did what against Cole. He did all right in the first round against Blue Gens. Um, Against Muscle, it was all right, but the second half of the bowl, it was just horrible. He didn't do much, but I think we changed his build. Excuse me. I think we gave him the Eternal Life, and we put him on a defense build because like I said, during the second half of the bowl, we decided to use Gotenks, so Kid Trunks couldn't have his regular build with Eternal Life at the time,
True.
which I feel kind of is what cost us the match and everything. Um, but either way, like now, really, Gotenks is doing. I mean, not Gotenks. Sorry, Cell Junior is doing his thing at this point. He's really showing up. Either right now we're kind of in the middle of testing him between key plus one and key plus two because kind of, like I said, Kid Trunks is the one that usually runs key plus two, so we're trying to see if we can get Cell Junior working on the other on key plus one so it doesn't hinder Kid Trunks' performance and all, and maybe see if we can alternate between those two for them. Um, but yeah, no, he went from being a disappointment. He got his name back now, and all. And while he's not the weakest and everything like that, I'm just hoping that he keeps up his performance in the actual main season at this point. So, but yeah, no, he had great B1s. Explosive Wave is kind of meh. Solar Flare is great, unless you're Roshi or one of the Saiyaman or Saiyan Woman, uh, who has visors and everything. Special Beam Cannon is great going through anything, I think, except for I don't know if it can go through Ultimates. I doubt it can. And then of course Innocent Rush, but he's like Dor said, he kind of spams that a bit, so we have to give him a clash bonus at this point. Well, we don't have to, but it's something that we would like to give him to kind of like give him more of an advantage. So, but
Yeah.
overall, yeah, he's good now. Anthony likes to call Rugrats or and us specifically, we're like the stepfather um of Cell Jr. And we're apparently keeping him away from his real family, his real
True.
dad, androids.
Speaking the truth over there.
Listen, I don't give a crap. He's having fun over here. He's going to
Mhm.
stay at
Uh-huh.
least for as long as I'm coach and
Mhm.
everything. And I'm pretty sure at least two out of my three supporters, they don't want to give up Cell Jr.
That's some sad
So
news. That's some
I
sad
don't know
news.
what to
Not
tell
gonna
you.
lie.
But I heard he's being made up into a Majin, so we'll see.
Ah, so it
Majin
could be
Cell,
like
Listen,
a
yeah.
hey, I don't see the M. I
I'll
don't
make
see
it.
on the slides where there's an M on there.
I,
So
I gave you different slides,
your
by the
point
way.
Yeah.
your point is
This is
it's
this
valid.
before the transformation.
I gave
Yeah.
you different slides, so we'll
Wow.
see.
Yeah.
Oh wait, Cell Jr. had a wait. Why wasn't I given the transformation? Then? Like, why am I being held back on this stuff?
Well,
Don't worry
should we
about
get
it.
moving
Don't worry
on
about
to
it.
the last member? Another
Let's
1
hear it.
hour
Yeah.
Babby. Onto the
Yes.
final Babby of the Rugrats, also known as childcare at this point. We have the Cyberman, so also known
Cyberman.
as the Cabbage Man. Um, and he comes in different colors, red and green. In each bar, a new Cyberman appears from the ground to fight in its place. Overall, not too bad of character. Decent B2s, high speed rush, and full power energy wave are certainly filler, but work. Loves to spam his acid B1, which is a stun B1, and it seems to have some interesting properties. And of course, he became legendary as the season for being the Kid Buu
Oh
killer.
gosh.
Though he has his cons, being his ult has two bad parts to it, one being a rush ult, and the second part being a self destruct. So even if he does use it, it'll put him to 1 HP. So the AI pretty much will never use it unless he's very low and can actually get to full power. And even then, because it's a rush, there's a high chance it just doesn't work. And he, being a high speed rush user, seems to prefer that over his beam, but that's kind of a 50-50. And yeah, while the acid is indeed something that does a good chunk of stuff, it also seems to be one of the lower, like its uniqueness has also got its issue of being probably one of the lowest lasting stun timers. It seems to stun the least amount of time of all of them. So certainly an interesting character, has his quirks. Yeah, I don't think you need to go into too much detail here on Cyberman Toshiro, but he's done his stuff. He's earned his
Oh yeah.
stripes.
This man, this I thought he was going to be a disappointment. Completely. He had his moments where he didn't do too good and everything, but when I ended up changing his build with the help of a few other community members, kind of brainstorming on what we can do. So we changed his build a bit. And he ended up doing like his 40k each time. The only downside is that while we give him like defense +2 and everything, he's basically at base for that because Cyberman has a natural defense -2, which kind of hurts us a lot. Um, Lately he hasn't been while he does have good B2s and everything. Um Lately he hasn't been really hitting it or doing many B2s, at least in tests so far. Um and also I would say with his ultimate, I'm actually glad he doesn't do that as much. Unless he does it, like when he's real low, that's the only time I'm fine with it. But there's a fairly small chance that he will tag immediately after. So we hope that he doesn't do it usually, but it's funny when it does happen. Um, but yeah, no, Cyberman has really changed my opinion on him and all. Doesn't change the fact that if we do possibly get like later down the line that for whatever reason Team Gohan or GT Goku or someone like that gets dropped, um, he's probably going to be our first person that Cyberman's probably going to be the person that may get dropped because for one, he is a safe drop for us and everything like that. And if we can get someone that doesn't have a defense -2 and it's just sometimes better overall, well, I won't say better overall because, like I said, Cyberman does his works and everything. He actually is good and everything, which I feel like a lot of the league wasn't expecting. I would like to have another character that is probably has a higher ceiling than Cyberman at this point. So, but he works for us and everything. He has a set build and everything. Unfortunately, you can't get him on any other build, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're still trying to change certain things up and work on him a bit more this season. So, yeah, we'll see if he keeps it up and show you guys surprise you guys even more next season.
For sure.
Hell yeah.
I mean, he's a character with potential, but obviously it is much more limited due to lower stats and generic move pool and such. But
Mhm.
I mean, you don't kill Kid Buu doing nothing, so he obviously
True.
has, potential out there. It's just a lot harder to pull out per se. So
Hmm.
with that, would you guys like to move on to the master list, the final segment of our show today?
Sure, sure.
Let's do it.
So one of the more tame master lists, for sure. Not a lot of kids in a series based around kids beating the crap out of each other, unfortunately.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
only open character is Chi-Chi. She is technically picked up as a free agent because that is the thing, but otherwise she's the only character they could just straight up pick up off the kind of free master list if they decided to drop somebody. Otherwise, GT has two characters they would like in GT Goku and Pan. Hybrids have Kid Gohan and Teen Gohan, and Budokai has Kid Goku. So those are all the characters they could potentially have on the team outside of free agent grasp. A few of them have come under potential. I think Kid Goku and Kid Gohan both are much more reasonable trades to kind of suggest, whereas maybe the ones on GT are a little harder. But overall, not a bad pretty much all the characters that are locked would be good characters to pick up. So
Yeah.
Oh
a
yeah.
good master list for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was already told that by someone on Budokai that if they would never drop Kid Goku because they know they're not getting them back, and I'm pretty sure they are right. Um, Kid Gohan, I think some people, I think a couple of people on Hybrid suggested it to me specifically. I think Enemy Controller, maybe one or two other people, for Kid Gohan trading for like Kid Trunks or Goten, and I don't see the benefit of doing that. You know, just my opinion on that. I already know, but I want Team Gohan. That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
No, GT Goku. I tried organize. This was one of the things that I was mentioning earlier, where I think I made Android sad. Where I was during the majority of the later half of the season, I was trying to orchestrate something where it was just like, hey, I give you Cell Junior, you give them Super 17 or whoever, and they give me GT Goku.
Yep.
And they decided, someone was like, oh, what about Pan? I'm like,
What about Pan?
no.
What about her? What do you mean?
Pan is like, she has her moments. She's
She
like
does.
decent,
Mhm.
but she lives on like one build, and I feel, and it kind of goes against what we already have. It conflicts with what we have right now.
Yeah.
And I would love GT Goku back because he was originally on Rugrats, but
Mhm.
yeah, not going to happen. Chi Chi, we tried testing her. Um, yeah, a lot of frustration. I'm not going back
Yeah.
down that road right now.
Yeah. It's a rough time.
Yeah. And Muscle is not doing me any favors. I don't think they tested her once yet. So
Oh damn.
well, I
Well.
can't really use anything yet besides what I have already. What we have already. So
For sure, there's been lots of changes though that came
Mhm.
very close to the free
oh,
agent window. So
something I did want to mention, and um, I think that we're going to talk about it again like later on. Um, but we are able to now boost Go tanks and
Mhm.
all. It's just different on how we do it now. So like if you take their build and all, Goten basically we technically Gotenks will only have one boost and all. But it has to be appear naturally in the other person, like in Goten's boost or like something like that. So like if I wanted serious, like a boosted serious and everything, and for Goten, it would have to be naturally in Kid Trunks' build and all. Like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that it does open up that, just forgot to mention that earlier, but it kind of opens up a little bit more avenue in terms of what we can do to where it's not too bad
Mhm.
but it's something if we decide to do
yeah, for sure.
Sure.
so.
There's certainly a high possibility there of some crazy stuff coming out this season if Gotenks comes, as said near the beginning of the, about a little over an hour ago, is that Gotenks was not used till later half the season. So you never know. Is it possible? For sure, but not guaranteed per se. So
For sure. And since about on the Gotenks discussion, when you build for him or planning to build for him, do you have enjoyment in that, in like puzzle piecing things, or do you just say screw it, we're going back to Goten and Kid Trunks? You have those type of moments?
Oh, just like forgetting Gotenks. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
zoned out for a second.
Like saying like, oh, we can do the Gotenks, fusion, or I say, well, screw all that mumbo jumbo of trying to puzzle piece my way to make a fitting build for it, or go to the Doten and Kid Trunks, duo that has been working. Do you ever find enjoyment of like puzzle piecing, or do you like to just stick to just tried and true?
I like to see what works out and
Mm,
everything. And that's kind of that's what we've been doing in the off season so far.
mm,
I think I've only done maybe like one or two tests where Gotenks technically has boost and everything, and I think I tried it out with I think it was like with giving them a fighting spirit um
okay.
or a serious boost or something like that.
Hmm.
So that way I think they had indignation, serious, and fighting spirit and all
Gotcha.
on top of like their attack +1 and key +2 super -1 blue stars that they already had. So I'm definitely like trying to do that, and I'm also trying to ask my team on what they want to do. But majority of the times, if we do boost, like I said, while it looks like we have Gotenks working a lot better this season and all, I
Mm,
feel like it may still be scarce on
mm.
like when we use it. We'll
Sure.
see.
Yep.
But yeah, I may end up starting to focus more so on like what boosts more work for them individually than with Gotenks and everything like that. So more options that way.
yeah, for
Gotcha.
sure. Well, I don't really
So yeah.
have much else to go over. I think we've hitting the hour and 10 mark just about here. I think we've talked a lot about what Rugrats has. Is there kind of a final spiel you want to throw out there, Toshiro, or?
Um I'm glad how far we made it this season and all. Hopefully more people. I'm always welcoming more supporters and everything. We're better than androids and boojins, even though I love you guys and everything like that. Um, but yeah, just my opinion and everything. Come join Rugrats.
Mhm.
Alrighty then. So with that, as always, we have information to the Discord down below if you want to check out or join a team. The website has all the information on Patara's master lists, rules of the league, schedule, and all that, as well as the Twitter, which will have updates on when stuff is going on. So also feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below on any questions, and we'll keep an eye on that. With that, that's about all I have. I'll guess we'll be wishing you guys a good weekend, all right, guys?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, see you guys.
Have a
See
good
ya.
one.